crack myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's.
That's different. I really like that.
They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny.
Sometimes accidents are good things.
Peychauds or Peychauds or...
This is not what I expected. Here we are, Monday. It's time for Beautiful Bourbon, and we are going to dig into one that kind of set the world on fire. We're going to give you the story behind Buckner's. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and get right on into it. I'm going to give myself a little pour. Now, this has been opened, and I have had this before. Full disclosure. Matter of fact, I had it just a couple days ago. A week ago. Right after the Bourbcast. Anyway, so, you know what? I was supposed to leave the front door unlocked. Give me a second. The gentleman who lent me this bottle has arrived. I didn't expect him, so I forgot to unlock the front door. All right. So it's Buckner's. All right, here we go. All right, who's watching? Aaron, well, he's here. Bill is here. Hey, Bill. And Paul, all watching. All right, Buckner's Single Barrel Bourbon from Augusta Distillery is named after a hero of the Revolutionary War, Captain Philip Buckner, who was awarded 7,000, hey Joanna, who was awarded 7,000 acres along the Ohio River after his service in the Virginia militia. It's one thing to run upstairs. I'm going to sweat probably. All right. So he got that 7,000 acres along the Ohio River. He established a school. Hey, Teresa. Austin, how are you? He established a school, a courthouse, and a jail in what is now Augusta, Kentucky. So, introduced to most of us in 2021, Buckner's came out of the gate as one of the most expensive new bourbons on the shelf at the introductory price of $199. There's a big chair if you want it. The rumor has been floated that the reason it was so expensive is twofold. First, it's because it's a 13-year single-barrel bourbon. Augusta only sources complete barrels. Of course, the naysayers reminded us at the time that it's sourced from elsewhere and untried, which is essentially the same argument they still give about not buying Kentucky Owl, confiscated, which is also sourced from who knows where and cost $135 a bottle. One review I found from 2021 said this: "I'll be sitting this one out since I've never heard of Augusta Distillery, and I'm not willing to throw down $200 on their product without knowing more about their consistency and their track record of quality." And there were a lot of people who felt that way, including me. So, the second part, I'm sorry. Now they do have a track record. They recently won World's Best Bourbon at the 2023 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. That's kind of like the Oscars of the whiskey world. We'll just give it over here. There you go. Winner, World's Best Bourbon. Yeah, see? Yeah. So now they have a track record. And back to me. Okay. Second part of why it costs so much, the rumor is that they were pricing it high to raise money to build a distillery, which they are in the process of doing. They recently purchased a 40,000 square foot building that was previously used to build carriages. Kind of cool. It kind of sticks right in there with all that heritage of the place. That brings us to this. Mash bill. 74% corn, 18% rye, 8% malted barley. It's a great mash bill. It's not a high rye. It's 18%, so it's on the low end of what could be considered a high rye. It's aged 13 years, they say, in Bardstown. 118.9 proof, which is kind of low for them. On the website, they sit normally between 121 and 130 proof, so this is a little on the low side for them. The single barrel happens to be a specific store pick from Crescent Springs Liquor in northern Kentucky and was lent to me by a friend who's sitting just off camera, specifically so I could review it here. All right. We're going to do the tasting, and then I'm going to blow your minds. Because that's what I'm going to do. And before I do that, I'm going to hand it off to Aaron, who's sitting off camera.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. He said, I just want you to do it. I don't need to be on camera. I just want to be there, and I want you to review it. So that's what we're doing. All right. I don't know the char level on this. 13 years? Shoot, they could get by with a #1 char for that and still have that nice dark color. All right. I know a guy on YouTube was really excited that we were going to do Knob Creek this week. Well, that's going to have to wait now. All right. Whew. That nose has got... Now again, this has been opened. This is unfair because it's been opened, and normally I do it right off the neck after I open it. But definitely a floral presence to it. Little tobacco. All the normal notes. The cinnamons are just popping out like red hot candy. Yeah, for sure.
Red hot's pretty strong.
That red hot is real strong. That cinnamon is popping to the point where I'm not getting any of the softer notes that you might normally want to get from a bourbon, like the honeys and the molasses, things like that. I've heard it speculated but not confirmed that it's sourced from Barton. Out here grilling pork chops in the rain and listening to me. Well, thank you. It's raining? Not raining here. Okay. We're going to get to that, where the sourcing and all that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, the bottle says it's distilled and aged in Bardstown and bottled there too by Augusta. Doesn't say where the juice comes from, but it says it's distilled and aged in Bardstown. In a minute, we're going to blow your mind. I'm telling you. All right, let's get back to the nose. There is a nice caramel coming through. Just a slight bit of ethanol, but that's bearing itself as fruity and floral notes. It's got a really nice, balanced, complex nose, but it's been open. So, all right. Right on the tip of my tongue. And this is not meant to tear it down, because I'm not. But right on the tip of my tongue, I got what seemed like the fresh garden soil. Now, if you've ever dug your hands into a bag of fresh garden soil, it smells fantastic. I mean, it's a sensory experience. It comes into your mouth and into your nose, and it's just a really nice flavor. Now, that was just on the tip of my tongue. The rest of it, I need to get into it a little bit, but the finish has got an earthy finish like dates, tobacco, leather, not leather, tobacco, dates, definitely oak, definitely some smoke on that finish. But let's get back into it and see what it does on the palate. Definitely some nice oak. And maybe that's what I mistook for like dirt, like potting soil. But there's a lot of oak on that. It's nicely blended in with the cinnamons and the caramels, and I'm not getting the fruit notes so much on the palate, and I'm not getting as much citrus on the palate. But this is definitely a complex pour. There's a lot happening in this bottle that's just throwing different flavors all over the place and changing every time I take a sip of it. The finish is even different. The finish has got a fruity floral citrus quality to it that wasn't there a minute ago. What I tell people a lot of times is that my favorite pours for complexity are the Old Forester 1920, the New Riff Single Barrel, and Kentucky Owl Confiscated. I think those all have got some very nice complexities to it. I don't think that this is quite as complex as those are, but there are some very nice complexities in it. It is a very robust, flavorful pour, and it does a lot. It's dancing on the palate right now. Yeah. That is a very nice pour. All right, let's do a little water. I'm going to try to make these pours a little bit smaller so I'm not taking all your stuff. Now, Aaron, off camera, says he liked it better when he first opened it. It was smoother and softer, he thought. And he thinks it's gotten spicier and harder since it's been opened. It's been opened about how long?
Right at about a year.
About a year, okay.
It's not one that you can just sit down and drink every day after you go bottle.
Right. What he said was it's not one that you can just sit down and drink every day after you've had a long day at work. You have to want to drink this or put it in something, which again, those flavorful, complex pours, I have a tendency not to want to put those in anything. I know that there's a matter of disagreement with people on that.
I probably would not mix that one.
You wouldn't mix this one? See, now Aaron was saying last week that he would like to mix the better pours because better pours make better cocktails. And I don't disagree with that. But I like the taste of bourbon enough, just as it is, that I don't want to mix it in anything. I can do that with Bullet or Wild Turkey 101 or Rittenhouse Rye and be a happy camper.
I think at the price point, it's just one that you
Price point is,
just enjoy
yeah.
how it is.
And it hasn't gone down in price. It's still $200 a bottle. Pretty much everywhere you find it. Is that what it was for you too?
$1.99.
Yeah, $1.99. So $200. All right. Okay. A little water on it. Do you want to put water on yours, or are you happy the way it is?
I'll try it.
Catch.
Just because I have never.
All right. Some of the ethanol and oak that was on the nose before has subsided a bit. Water tore that down a lot. I didn't put any more water on this than I ever put on anything. And that tore that down a lot. Still a nice bite on the back end. But that bite on the palate that was there with all 3 sips when it was neat is gone. It saves it now for after you swallow it, basically.
I think it reversed the roll.
You think it got hotter?
After you swallow. Like
Oh, yeah. After you swallow it, that's when it kicks you in the back on the way out. All right. It's kind of like, and I hate to say this because it's not fair to it, but it's like Basil Hayden's. You know, Basil Hayden doesn't present it all on my palate, and then I swallow it and it goes bing. So that's why I don't really get into Basil Hayden too much. And that's what this is kind of doing. This is kicking me on the way out.
water definitely changed it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Those oaky notes are still there. I lost some of the magic that I was getting before. I lost some of the citrus. I'm getting a little lime on the finish now, which is odd. But that's the second time that I've gotten lime after I put water on it. So I'm right in the center of my tongue, lime. That doesn't happen very often. And I'm getting that burn underneath my tongue, whereas before I got it on the top of my tongue. So underneath my tongue and on the sides of my tongue and on the inside of my bottom lip. That's where the burn is presenting itself. It's weird. It changed a lot on water. It's been open. Had it not been opened, had this been a fresh crack, that may not be the case. But now that it's been opened, when you open it up with water, this one changed considerably. All right. Okay. Now. So, there was an experiment that somebody told me this week. And I wanted to try it because I thought it was fascinating. I've told you a few times that my gorgeous ice spheres tend to get frosty if they're in the freezer for too long. And a dude told me that doesn't happen if you get the really thick OHLQ paper bags. The big ones, not the little ones, and not the little pint ones, but the big ones. The ones that'll hold like 2 of these bottles and maybe another thing. Or 2 big dailies things, the big daily mixers, dailies mixers. Get those big bags, which I put back in the freezer. And the ice sphere will stay beautiful and it won't get frost all over it. So I tried it, and by golly, it worked. The one that's in the fridge is the ugly one that was done in that Death Star thing, but even it is not developing frost. So you get those big, if you go to a liquor store in Ohio, and you get something, ask for the big bag because it's nice and thick. Make your ice spheres, put them in that bag, wrap it up, stick it in the freezer that way, and not in a Ziploc because it apparently is not going to let you grow any frost on it. So, okay. All right. Now, we still got a conspiracy to hit. We're going to blow your mind in a minute. I just got to do the rest of this first. Not impressed with it on water at all. So,
do you remember much when we first opened this?
I remember we opened this in your apartment, and I thought it was fantastic from the jump. So, Paul, this is for you.
At that point, I thought it was one of the better pours out there.
It is one of the better pours out there. It's a 13-year. It's barrel strength. Cheers, Paul. Quinn's watching. Hey, Quinn, how are you? I'm glad you're here. You've kind of missed about half of it. We got into it. I'll just give you a quick recap. Lots of the darker flavors. Tobacco. Did get some intense red hot. Like red hot candy, cinnamon candy. Tobacco notes, a little bit of citrus. Got some lime after put it on water. The water tore it apart. So now we're doing ice. And starting with her finger because that's Paul approved. So, all right. Flavor held up. Everything else fell apart. I'm back to a little bit of that potting soil again. Just a little bit. And some of the fruit notes came back out again. It doesn't hold up like it did, but it doesn't fall completely apart. On water, it fell apart. On ice, not quite the same experience. It's a little bit different. So this could go in a cocktail if you wanted it to, but a $200 bottle? Cocktail?
It's an expensive cocktail.
Don't do that. Unless you hate it, don't do that. All right, are you ready to have your mind blown? When Aaron was here last week and brought this bottle over to me and said, I don't know if I'll be able to make it, and even if I do, don't put me on camera, I'll just sit there and enjoy it. We floated a theory between the two of us that maybe, just maybe, Buckner's is a 13-year single barrel counterpart to Stag and might even be distilled at Buffalo Trace. You're wondering why I think this. What do you think? Those bottles are identical.
Even the top of the cap.
Even the top of the cap. Cork. Cork. I betcha. It fits just like that. All right. So, Stag is not a single barrel, and it's aged for less time, between 7 and 9 years. But wouldn't that make Buckner's another version of George T. Stagg? No. But it might sit in the center between George T. Stagg and Stagg, what used to be Stagg Jr., in what GTS has aged 15 years and still is not a single barrel. But it is uncut and unfiltered and barrel proof. Buckner's, by the way, also has a 15-year single barrel. And they've recently announced an 8-year single barrel as well. Makes you wonder. What if this Buckner's is a 13-year single barrel version of this? Which is not 13-year, 7 to 9 years, not a single barrel. What if the 15-year version of this is a 15-year single barrel version of George T. Stagg? I don't know. I know this sounds crazy. Makes you wonder. Of course, it's all speculation. The bottle says it's distilled and aged in Bardstown and bottled there too by Augusta, so who knows? But you cannot ignore the fact that this is the exact same bottle. Everything about it is the exact same. On the bottom, it says 11 PG USA. On the bottom of this, it says 23 PG USA. Come on. What if...
Did you compare mash bills by chance?
This mash bill is not known. I know that this is mash bill number 1 out of the 2 mash bills, because mash bill number 2 is your Blanton's mash bill. Mash bill number 1 in Buffalo Trace is your Stagg, your Buffalo Trace, your Eagle Rare, your George T. Stagg, all those. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the same glass that I've been using for the Buckner's. Just a little bit. I brought another glass, which was going to be your glass, but I messed it up, for the Stagg. And we're going to do it back-to-back. This has been open about a year and a half. This has been open about a year.
Same color.
I'm going to put these things right next to each other for this. And they are very close to the same color.
Almost identical.
Yeah. Look at that. So, this has had my mind spinning all week. All right, so this is the Buckner's. Yeah. Neat's the way to drink this. Nah.
By far.
By far. That's nummy. Yeah.
It's really good meat.
Stagg Jr. I should have brought down some water. They are not the same. But this is a single barrel. This is a blend. This is a lot sweeter than this. It's not aged as long. It's not as oaky. Still a great pour. Oh my gosh, that's good. I'd forgotten how good Stagg was. Man, oh man. That's nummy. I don't know. Again, this is all just speculation on my part, but what if? What if it were to be revealed that this is indeed a Buffalo Trace product? you'd never see it again. I guarantee that.
Be off the shelf.
It'd be off the shelf. You wouldn't find it anywhere. There's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 places in the state of Ohio right now that have Buckners. And they've probably been sitting a while because it's a $200 bottle. This is what, a $60 bottle for Stag? Something like that?
69, I think.
If you can find it. Donna's watching. Brian's watching. Tom is confused about when the show starts. Monday, 7 o'clock. Every week. We moved it. It's going to probably stay here. Paul Smith. Yeah, finger stir. Cheers to you as well. All right. Lockoff. Donna Lockoff. I used to date a Lockoff. Like a long time ago. Really, really long time ago. All right. Are they the same? I don't know. But it was fun to play with it a little bit, and we got a chance to actually try the Buckners for you, and I'm happy about that. So, I don't know what I have planned for next week, but I will, if I can find it, yeah, I will tell you what we're actually going to do next week. It's been all over everywhere. It's been lighting up the internet. People are talking about it. They're being very favorable about it. I have not heard one person who doesn't like it yet. But I haven't tried it, so I can't give out notes, and I can't advocate for it. So here's what we're going to do next week. This is Claremont Steep. This is a new product from Jim Beam. It is a malted barley whiskey. It uses 2 different types of barley. One is a 2-row barley, and one is a Pilsner barley. They do it differently than most single malts or American malts, in that instead of putting it in a used bourbon barrel, they actually go the bourbon process and they char, well, first they toast a brand new virgin white oak barrel, and then they give it a number 1 char, and it sits in there for 5 years. So Claremont Steep is what we're doing next week. I have been anxious to get my hands on this. It's not a cheap bottle. It's around $60. So I was hesitant to, it's the same thing as this, right? You get into this thing and you see this brand new bottle is $200. It's like, I don't know anything about it. Why do I want to spend $200 on this bottle? Well, same thing here. This is a malted whiskey, malted barley whiskey, and you're thinking to yourself, why do I want to spend $60 on something I don't know anything about? But the reviews that I'm getting online, I follow this stuff all over the place. The reviews have been very, very good. So I bought a bottle, and we're going to try it next week. Claremont Steep, right here on Beautiful Bourbon. We got one more sip of this left to go. Mwah-ha-ha. Yeah, I don't think it's the same thing as Buffalo Trace. I don't think it's the same thing as Stag. Even as a single barrel, it just doesn't have the same notes. But boy, am I thinking about it. All right, everybody, I do want to say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next Monday with Claremont Steep on Beautiful Bourbon. You guys have a good one. Thank you very much.